In this video, I want to talk about the 5 biggest time wasters for solopreneurs that really stifle their growth and really their ability to scale their businesses. And I also want to give you the cool little hacks to mitigate these time wasters from really sucking the life out of your business moving forward now that you're going to learn about them. And make sure you stick around till the end, because the 5th one, the last one, is a super important one, and in my opinion, the one that really just sabotages a lot of business owners from really growing their business. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name is Emmanuel. I am the founder and kind of chief talking head guy here at Square One Group. Really, our mission is to help solopreneurs scale their businesses using systems. At this point, we've helped hundreds of solopreneurs break 6 figures in their business. And in addition to that, we've helped quite a few of them actually hit the 7-figure mark. And to be honest with you, a lot of the stuff that helped them get to these points in terms of monetary goals are really about addressing the time vampires, these time sucks that I'm going to be talking about in this video. Starting with number 1, which is endless email checking. Now, I actually remember, when I was starting up my business, I wanted to be available to all of my clients. I remember part of my sales pitch was like, yeah, you can call me anytime as long as it's not midnight or 2 a.m., but I'm gonna make sure that my phone's available and my email's available. You can email me, I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. And essentially what that led to was me constantly checking my email almost on a 5, 10, 15 minute incremental basis to make sure that I was providing the best customer service to every single one of my clients. And so what ended up happening was whenever I would start working on a project, I would immediately get distracted because I was subconsciously thinking oh my gosh, there might be a client that sent in a request and I need to somehow address it as quickly as possible. Now, here's the thing about constantly checking your emails. They completely drain your ability to enter a state of flow. You're constantly contact switching. Let's say you start working on a project or you're working on some marketing or some, cool sales funnel stuff. And then all of a sudden you just contact switch because you feel like you need to check your email because you feel like there's something really, really, really important there. But what ends up happening is you're just disrupting your ability to work efficiently and make sure you get stuff done as quickly as possible. So the quick fix here, the cool little hacks there's actually 2 of them I want to cover. And that is to set times specifically throughout the day to check your email. Open up your Google Calendar and specifically block off times, maybe in the morning, maybe in the midday, and maybe in the afternoon, to check your email and respond to emails. And I should also add a little bonus tip to that is set up an autoresponder and let people know that when they email you, expect a delay because you're only checking your emails maybe 3 times a day. That way it becomes a lot easier for you to get into a state of flow, finish the work that you need to do, and you're also going to be, adhering or cooperating or providing a ton of value to your clients and customers because they now know and expect when to be hearing from you. And the cool little hack number 2 of this is if you have a budget, I highly, highly, highly recommend, maybe hiring a VA. And have this VA manage your inbox. This is actually what I'm doing now. I have a team member that is constantly just monitoring my inbox. And what happens is she essentially breaks down every email into a couple different categories. Category number 1 is stuff that I need to respond to. Category number 2 is stuff that she can respond to. Category number 3 is stuff that we're waiting for replies for. Category number 4 is maybe emails that, like newsletters and articles that I like to review. And then category number 5 is for things like bills or receipts. And essentially what happens is in the morning and in the afternoon, I actually don't check emails at all. I receive a message from her about maybe some key points that I need to discuss. And then what I'll simply do is either send a voice message back or maybe a Loom video just telling, my assistant how to reply to these emails. And here's the cool part about this little strategy. Because of it, I actually don't need to have an email app on my phone anymore. I'm just communicating directly now with my assistant, and she's the one kind of responsible for completely managing and delegating all of the cool little items and some of the annoying items in my inbox. Okay, on to big time suck number 2 for solopreneurs, and that is the social media distraction. So I want to tell you about a private client of mine, and she's in the accounting space and has hundreds of clients. Problem is, a lot of those clients were, getting their tax returns, late. And because of that, what ended up happening is she ended up experiencing a heck of a lot of churn. She was losing customers. So what I asked for was to look at her calendar to make sure that she was using her time effectively. What I ended up finding was that she was properly time blocking to make sure that she was getting all of her stuff done on time, which obviously she wasn't. But what I also asked her to do was to take a look at her phone app and see what her usage was in terms of her apps that she's constantly really looking at. And what I found was pretty bad. She had spent anywhere from 7 to 8 hours on average a day on social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and therein lied the problem. That's where all of her time was going. It was just to be sucked up into time vampire apps and just looking for quick dopamine hits through social media. And why social media is great for, really marketing your business, or even just, taking some time to release after a stressful day, it's not useful if all you're doing is spending your time just thumb scrolling. So here are a couple little things that we helped her kind of install to make sure that she can use her time more effectively. Number one is we essentially needed to brick her phone during work times. Now, there's this really great app that I use. It's called Forest, and you can essentially set a list of all the apps that you want to be able to use while you're working. And then if outside of that list, it'll just block everything else. In addition to that, also blocking times throughout the day was super powerful for her, just to kind of let loose. You've heard of the Pomodoro technique? Well, in her case, what she would do would be 25 minutes working, 5 or 10 minutes, scrolling through social media, and then hop back in to that 25 minutes of work. And then lastly, she used social media as a marketing tool and really a sales tool to try to generate more customers and clients. So the strategy here was we tried to do our best to use tools like Hootsuite and Later to actually schedule out the content, and also make sure that in those time blocks that she's kind of using to get her quick dopamine hit of thumb scrolling, to use that as an opportunity as well to reply to any messages, like direct messages that she'd received from any of her marketing efforts. Time suck number 3, perfectionism. All right, another really great story from another founder that we work with. He's in private lending, and he typically lends out to huge investors. Like, we're talking minimum, buy-in to work for him, typically about 100 million. So these are like large commercial buildings and apartment buildings. Now, the challenge here is that he was only strictly referral based. A lot of his business was just based off of his current network, and he was really trying to expand his ability to get more people to, know who he is, or know, like, and trust him, so that he can acquire more clientele or turn strangers into clients. There were a bunch of different strategies that he really tried to get off the ground. Like, he created funnels for these really great pages, and he would do like these video sales letters or VSLs or webinars, or he would even do lead magnets. But every single time he would start these really great ideas for a marketing strategy to try to bring in people into his funnel, he would stop like at 80%. And so when we started working together, we would look at all this stuff, and it was great. Like, he really had an eye for design, which really begged the question, like, why are you stopping? Why are you stopping right when you're about to launch a thing and then starting on something new, like finding a new shiny object to work on? Well, that's when the evil eye of perfectionism came in. See, the reality is perfectionism is no more than a form of self-sabotage. And it's really the thing that prevents you or any other solopreneur or entrepreneur from growing. Like, because what's essentially happening is you're looking for an excuse not to finish the work, because the bottom line here is you're scared of what the other side is going to look like. You're scared of what the success is going to look like. Or in this case, he was scared of what the success is going to look like. At least that was one of the pieces or components that, we kind of uncovered in, multiple conversations together. Now, having said that, there's this really great analogy of like going to the gym. When you go to the gym, you're never going to be lifting or bench pressing 150 pounds of weight right off the bat. Obviously, you're going to look kind of maybe a little pathetic, and maybe just bench pressing a couple 25-pound dumbbells, or maybe bench pressing the bar. But over time, you end up getting enough strength, and more importantly, enough confidence, so you can start adding some plates into, the bar, and then start bench pressing some heavier weight. Well, you see, entrepreneurship is a lot like that. You have to do a thing, even if it's embarrassing and it's kind of light and doesn't look very good, or it looks a little janky. You have to do the thing in order to create the confidence to do it better the next time. And that's essentially what we established with him. He just had to just get past the perfectionism, get it out there, because everyone knows it's gonna suck the first time. It's easier to just get it out of the way and suck the first time. And the faster you suck the first time, the easier it is to get to the next time, and it becomes a lot simpler and more streamlined, and you end up looking a lot better after the repetitions. So the main thing here, the quick fix of this, is to aim for progress. Aim for doing the repetition no matter how sloppy it is. That will completely silence the perfectionism. And the other key component to this is to set a deadline. There's this cool programming term, it's called definition of done. And the concept behind that is simple. You don't create the perfect thing, because you're never going to be able to launch the perfect thing. What you do is you create the best version for that specific time. So let's say that, the definition of done is I want to set up a funnel and make sure it's launched by Friday, the end of the week. Then what you're going to do is you're going to do the bare minimum to get to that Friday launch. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're just going to make sure you launch on that Friday. And then the following Friday, maybe you iterate and make it better. But the idea is to constantly keep launching. By the way, if you found this helpful so far, really appreciate it if you hit that like button, subscribe button, bell icon, all that fun stuff really helps out the channel. Okay, on to number 4. which is a lack of prioritization. A mentor of mine, I remember, told me, if you do things out of sequence, it's the same as not doing them at all. In my world, I was trying to remove myself from the sales process, and because I hated sales, when I was still stuck in the delivery of my product and service, which is the completely wrong way of thinking. Because the reality is there's a pecking order to removing yourself from your business, and which is delivery first. I was trying to remove myself from sales first, which just doesn't work. It's one of the last things you remove yourself from in terms of business. So what ended up happening was I ended up hiring, a couple appointment setters and a couple closers for my business. But the problem is I wasn't very clear on what we delivered. And because of that, the marketing message or the sales message got so skewed. It was so sloppy. It was so messy. All it really led to was low close rates and all of them essentially quitting, over time, because they kind of just lack the patience to deal with me and my constant ADD in terms of switching up products and services. Now, the big lesson learned here, it's real simple. When you lack priorities, you end up doing things just kind of out of the blue, out of the whim, whenever they pop into your head. And many times, when you start working on these things, they're usually not in the correct order. And because of that, you just end up wasting a ton of time and, more importantly, a ton of money. So the solution to this is actually really simple. You just need to understand the income producing tasks for your business. Then you need to focus on that. People talk about the 80-20 rule, like 80% of your income in your business is really focused on this 20% of your zone of genius. Identify what that zone of genius is, and then completely focus all of your attention super lasered on that, whatever that is, and then really just start delegating everything else out. By the way, if you're having trouble trying to figure out what to prioritize, well, hey, guess what? We got a really great program. It's called Community Builder. Love to invite you into our cohort where we really break down kind of the methodologies of scaling or really growing and scaling a business. First, getting you from 0 to 100K, then to $250,000, and then everything and beyond. If you're at all interested, I'm gonna leave the link to a quick 10-minute brainstorm session right under this video. Just let's have a quick chat. It's not a sales call. Love to see if we can help you out. All right, moving on to number 5, the lack of trust. Oh my gosh, this one bugs me. It's a lack of trust. So what ends up happening is I'm gonna do it all myself. So I gotta tell you about another founder that I've been working with quite some time now. They're doing great in business now, but oh my gosh, it took, I'd say, a good part of 18 months to break away this belief that he needed to do it all himself. So when it came to delivery of his service, or maybe doing the marketing or doing the sales, all of it kind of fell on his shoulders, and he was burnt out, and he was actually not getting stuff done efficiently. So a lot of what we did was to really identify what tasks he was working on, and then we started to create what I like to call the BOSS, which stands for the Business Operating System. And it's essentially a playbook that we can now delegate to different people with all of his SOPs and pretty much definitions of done with due dates of whenever these tasks are supposed to be due, so that anyone, whenever he hires, can hop into his BOSS and then kind of figure out what they need to do throughout the day, week, month, year, whatever. But the main thing I need to help you understand with regards to the lack of trust and not being able to delegate is it's this. You are the bottleneck of your business. And there's a simple math equation that really helps expand on you being the bottleneck. There is no way that you can make $1 million working on $5 an hour tasks. The math just does not make sense. You need to delegate out a lot of the stuff that is not high enough income producing for the business so you can focus on the things that truly matter. So the quick fix here is to really take inventory of everything that you're doing throughout the day. My little tip, set a timer on your phone every 15 minutes. Whenever it goes off, just jot down what you're working on. And from there, you're gonna have a list of essentially everything that you're doing throughout your day and maybe throughout your week. And then from there, what you need to do is you need to look at this list of tasks, identify what the definition of done is for these tasks, and then you need to house it somewhere. Maybe in like a project management tool. Personally, I like using Asana, but you can use Trello, you can use Monday. There's a bunch of them out there. But house all of these tasks in one specific location. And then what you really want to do, look for somebody, maybe a VA or maybe an actual, North American team member, hire them, and then based off of that, delegate all of these tasks that you have on your cool little project management system or application so that they know exactly what they need to do. And here's the cool part. You can add recurring events to them so they essentially become whirlwind tasks, which essentially mean that they're gonna happen on a repeated basis. And guess what? You've effectively removed yourself from a lot of the day-to-day operations.